Hi, this is Elliot Masie and Learning Oddfellow. We're going to take you on a tour in our 3D Learning Island. So welcome to Second Life and welcome to the 3D island that we've created for our Learning Consortium. And I want you to meet my persona, my avatar. My staff kind of thinks it looks a little bit like me, but that's open to dispute. Meet Learning Oddfellow. And I'm going to talk and video this while Ria Christian, who is our manager of this project in the consortium, is going to steer. We might even get Ria to say a few things along the way. So here we are right in the middle of 3D Island. This is a learning island that we've created as a gated community, a sandbox for our learning consortium to try to figure out what is all of this 3D stuff about. So Learning Oddfellow is going to take you on a walk down to a boulevard of learning places. Each of these environments was created to show a sort of use case of how 3D learning might take place. Ria, why don't you steer them over into that retail store? So we're going to enter into a shop that was built and to look at how learning could take place in this kind of an environment. And Learning Oddfellow is going into this store. And Ria, talk about one or two of the things that can be done right here in this environment.
You could do some role playing with a customer and a person perhaps behind the register. You can try on clothes in the dressing room. You can have a scenario where you encourage somebody to steal something so that they can then, when they leave the store, have a scenario where they're being confronted about the situation that they removed the item from the store.
And they would probably end up in our 3D Learning Island prison, but we're not going to show that to you just yet. That's a secret place under development. But essentially what we're showing you is that this is an environment that was fairly rapidly created, but then could be restructured depending on the scenario. So this clothing store could become a bookstore. The bookstore could become a hardware store. It's really just a matter of dropping in some different artifacts and then scripting some different environments. Let's take a walk. We'll leave the store and hopefully we won't take anything that doesn't belong to us because I don't want to get into trouble. And we're going to walk down and there's some other environments. We have a restaurant, but we're going to walk down the block and why don't you take us over to this car sales area? So we're walking in here and we basically see a car, once again, could be retrofitted to be any make from any manufacturer, an environment in which you could walk through and do the how to negotiate for a car or how to try to get the last dollar out of the customer along the way. But once again, each of these was set up as a use case to be used by a different industry. You even see a car out there on an outdoor lot, so you always want to take them out there. We haven't built the scenario for a test drive, but I'm sure that wouldn't be too hard to build as well. Ria, why don't you walk us down? I know you've got an environment that was set up by some people in the insurance industry. And you want to talk a little bit about what that is as we walk over there?
Sure. This is essentially a demo of a home that has been damaged by wind and a storm. There's some water damage and some wind damage in here, and the idea is that you can do training here to help a junior assessor understand how to assess the extent of damage and how to do an accurate, I guess, cost appraisal of how something, what would be required to repair something.
And so these are actually manipulable objects there. You see some of the tiles that are up, and you can actually start to manipulate them, and you would be able to, once again, try to assess the damage according to a set of protocols from that. And once again, this was built by some of our colleagues in the insurance industry who wanted to have a set of artifacts that could actually be used there. I think something has dropped down from the ceiling there. So whenever we go into Second Life, we always get surprised at something that has changed or like by one of our consortium members that's been working on that. Ria, why don't we walk out and we'll make two other stops. It'd be fun if we could go over into we have one for a restaurant area that we thought we'd show you. And you'll see that Ria's navigating my avatar all the way through. She actually drives better than I do. We think that one of the ongoing improvements is going to have to be a interface that is a bit more intuitive for those of us who are not video gamers at home. But basically, you see we've got our avatar that's walking there, and we could even have them fly. You want to go click on the fly icon over there, and Ria can show you that I have the ability to go much faster and farther, and we can fly around the area, and it takes a little bit of getting used to this, sort of get your bearings, but we have found that to be sort of a playful element that is involved in virtual and 3D worlds. So Ria's bringing me down to earth. Oh, I dropped into the car, so I have to get a new Miata just for being damaged that way. But we're walking, and what you'll notice as we're doing that these environments we've made to be a bit more photorealistic rather than fantasy-like. You'll go on some areas in these virtual worlds, and the whole thing looks very, very fantasy-like. We wanted to build something that was fairly photorealistic. So here you have my avatar who's sitting down at a restaurant, and a waiter could come over and we could go through a whole series of fine dining activities. There's a bottle of wine and a variety of different food that I could eat. Oh, and I even see a floating glass of wine, which I guess I could drink or consume. And once again, all of these are scriptable elements. So now it's just in our last couple of minutes, Ria, why don't we leave our restaurant here, and do you want to take them over to the pagoda? This was a building that we created that would have a variety of environments in which learning could take place. So literally, we're now sitting in sort of a very funky, fashion-intensive lecture hall room. We can put a variety of different tools at the top. We can put a variety of PowerPoint and other slides, and it's what we call our symposium room. And there you even see a question machine where any individual here can ask a question, and it then gets posted up on the charts up there. Well, Ria, why don't we finally just take a little trip over to Fab Foods, and we'll then call this a rapid orientation. So Ria is now teleporting us over to Fab Foods. Now this was once again developed as a use case by a couple of consortium members who wanted to say, if you were working in a fast service restaurant serving hamburgers or pizza or wraps or vegetarian one, could we build an environment in which actual training could be done? So here you see a sink where the individual is washing their hands. We have an area where they put food on. It checks temperature. And once again, this is meant to be a 3D scriptable simulation environment. Ria's just turned on the gas there, and we now can literally look at the time it takes and the temperature to put a variety of different foods into cooking mode, and are they actually going to cook it to standard. She just turned off the gas, turned it back on, and the like. So Ria, why don't we just have him spin around a little bit, because we're going to say goodbye here. We hope you've enjoyed this very short tour on 3D Learning Island. This was built and is up and running now as a resource for our Learning Consortium. We hope that you'll use it with the same spirit that we are. We are not advocating either Second Life or even at this point really advocating a full deployment of virtual 3D learning. We think it's an emerging environment. We think it has a lot of potential. There are some challenges, and we hope it'll get better and better through our collaborative and collective intelligence. So from 3D Island, this is Elliot Masie and
Ria Christian.
And Learning Oddfellows saying, have a great day.